I think that's, go ahead, DJ, continue.
No, good.
Because I think that argument, I'm not a racist or whatever, is a distraction, and it's not helpful. Okay, because the thing about racism is it's institutional and systemic, which means it's played out by these systems. It's not about, oh, you did something wrong to me and therefore you are racist. You can act out a racist system. Yes. If you are a white police officer and you are upholding the law incorrectly against people of color, that means that you are acting out a racist system. You are acting out these laws, or acting out and exerting your power in a way that negatively impacts people of color, right? But the thing is, it's not about individuals being racist. It's about individuals upholding these systems that are created to perpetuate racism. So to say that, oh, well, I'm not a racist, so I'm not the problem. You're the problem because you're saying that, because you're not recognizing that it's these systems that you're benefiting from that you don't want to have changed. Because what happens is when the conversation gets shifted to the individual, we lose focus of what the problem is. So when people are bringing up this, I'm not a racist, because they're so fragile, that's actually violent. That goes back to the whole white violence thing. Because the conversation is not about one person acting against another person. It is on a macro level, because it's about the system. If we think about the founding fathers of this nation, the ones who wrote the Declaration of Independence, the ones who wrote and signed the Constitution, they did not have my black ass in mind. Okay, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Welcome to episode 13 of Breaking It Down with DJ and Courtney.
Yes, 13.
Lucky 13. If you're new here, or if you already know the drill, we like to start each episode with a segment called What's Still Cooking, and that gives DJ and me an opportunity to highlight anything that we may have watched, read, or seen that might still be lingering on our minds. And for me, Florida released genetically modified mosquitoes in hopes to reduce the spread of disease. So there's a biotech company called Oxitec, and along with the Florida Keys Mosquito Control District, they've launched a project in the Florida Keys to reduce a certain species of mosquitoes. The hope is that the program will help in reducing the spread of deadly disease like dengue, yellow fever, and Zika. And they have released genetically modified male mosquitoes that will pass on a gene during reproduction that kills female offspring. So the female mosquitoes are the ones that do the biting.
Really?
This is the first program like this in the United States, but similar programs have proved beneficial in Brazil, Panama, the Cayman Islands, and Malaysia.
I think that's a good thing, because Lord, I hate mosquitoes.
I do too, but I never would have thought of genetically modified mosquitoes as a cure, or like as a problem solver.
Like a Hollywood movie can go wrong with.
It actually sounds like another Black Mirror episode. There was one where they had like these stalker bees or something like that. So, I can't remember what that episode was called, but Black Mirror is now our life. The other thing that was cooking for me is the return of Bennifer. So people may remember that recently Alex Rodriguez, also known as A-Rod, announced that he and Jennifer Lopez had dissolved their engagement and that they would be, in quotes, better as friends. A short 3 weeks later, Jennifer was spotted with another ex-fiance, Ben Affleck.
Wow.
They were spotted vacationing together at a resort in Big Sky, Montana. According to Cosmo, A-Rod isn't happy about this news. He was actually hoping that they would have a chance to reconnect. But Matt Damon, who is Ben Affleck's best friend, apparently supports the reunion and wasn't so happy about Jennifer Gardner and Ben's coupling.
I wonder if she has a mean streak or something, huh?
Serial monogamous, that might be something she would be called. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I love Jennifer Lopez. I love her movies. But I'm out when you first heard this story, like, could she just like put that pussy on ice?
Ooh!
I mean, damn. It's like,
I mean, more power to her. If it's love, then good for her. But yeah, I mean, it made me look at her a little sideways, like, what's going on here?
Yeah, like get to a therapist, girl.
Oh, okay, DJ, let's move on. What's cooking for you?
So, and I love Jennifer Lopez, by the way. So there's no hate towards her. You know, girl, do your thing. But I visited North Carolina last weekend for Mother's Day, and we had an event for the mothers of the family at a cousin's house, and he mentioned that he would listen to our last episode.
Oh wow!
And
Hi, cousin.
hey, cousin Linnell, I really appreciate the holla. And he said his story about Young Thug and Gunna, how they paid it forward to prisoners who couldn't afford their buns, and they got them out
Right.
by paying their buns. And he was agreeing that our current prison system is just another form of modern slavery.
Absolutely.
So people are listening, and if you are listening now, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share.
That's right.
Yes. So have you ever heard of the foreign accent syndrome?
No.
It's a rare phenomenon where it's characterized by a person experiencing a new accent from some other part of the country, or from other distant country, without ever having to travel abroad. And there has been over 100 cases that has been published. So a Australian 27-year-old woman named Angie Yin, she's never been to Ireland, and she woke up from her surgery and she had she's Australian, and she woke up with an Irish accent.
Wow.
Yeah, and and her Brisbane dentist, which is Brisbane is a city within Australia, said that this is what happened. He was there when she woke up out of her anesthesia, and she had this British accent. They say it's usually Irish accent. And wow. I'm thinking a little bit Irish right now, probably more Ebonics, right? In Paris so usually what happens is the person may have some brain damage, or they something happens to the brain where it causes this, and it happens overnight. But she never had a stroke. She didn't fall. She didn't have any brain damage, but she has had her tonsils removed. And so she started to create a TikTok page. We'll leave you the link in the so she can bring awareness to the foreign accent syndrome. And so we'll leave you the link to that. So now, how about you? If you woke up sounding like the Queen of England, how would you react to that?
I think I would love that, because I'm awful at accents. But I love the British accent. Like, if I could have, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. Good day, mate. Isn't it good day? Like, if I could swap, I can't do it at all.
Like,
but
have some crumpets, Courtney.
Like some tea and crumpets. I can't do it. A glass of water. Glass of water.
Yeah, Courtney.
I can't do it. So I would be delighted. I would be delighted. It would be delightful.
I would love a Jamaican accent. No,
I don't know if the world is ready for that. I don't think the world is ready for you to have a Jamaican accent.
Call me now.
Oh, no.
So a question that's been coming up on my feed for the last few weeks is America racist?
Duh.
So for most African Americans, this could be easily dismissed as duh. But I wanted to discuss some other issues in terms of when I begin seeing that Kamala and our president Biden began to sort of change their tone a bit. I wanted to say, well, let's look at that and see, why are they changing their tone, and who does it benefit, and is this something that we should be basically afraid of? So after the Derek Chauvin verdict, President Biden and Vice President Harris held a press conference that spoke to systemic racism that exists in America. And many African Americans would definitely agree with that statement. And so then we fast forward to President Biden's State of the Union address, and South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott, who is African American, was in the headlines after Scott responded to President Biden's speech saying America is not a racist country. And it's backwards to fight discrimination. This is what Senator Scott is saying. America is not racist. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present. And he received tons of backlash, especially from African Americans, calling him Uncle Tom and so many other things that you're going to be called if you step outside of
the truth.
We'll go with that, okay? So, but the reality is this. So Senator Scott is one of three African American U.S. senators, and the only African American Republicans. So we only have three senators who are Black.
Right.
Okay. So there's
I wonder why.
so already there's an imbalanced representation in the Senate, and in the 232-year history of the U.S. Senate, there have only been 11 Black senators. Currently have Cory Booker, who's Democratic, Raphael Warnock, who's Democratic, and then of course Tim Scott. So how do you, that's just like you said, that's very interesting, right?
Right.
It further ingrains the idea that this country has a race problem. Right. So Kamala did an interview on Kamala. I don't know why I want to call her Kamala, but Kamala.
Because you've watched too much Fox News. That's why, DJ.
I watch everything, even Fox News. Okay, so I got to stay well-rounded. And during an interview on Good Morning America, in response to Senator Tim Scott's comment, Kamala agreed with America, saying that America is not a racist country, but the nation must speak the truth about its history with racism, which seems sort of kind of like you're going back. You're saying one thing.
You're saying the same thing without saying it.
Yeah, you're saying it's not a racist country, but then you're saying that we have a race problem. Like, which one is it? We have a race problem, or there's no race problem? Which one is it? So it got me kind of looking like, let me look at it from her perspective, and to see what is it that she's trying to perpetuate by pushing that comment. So what do you think? Why do you think Kamala and President Biden are changing their tone from saying that we have a systemic racist problem in America from America isn't racist?
Before I even answer that, I would need to make it known and clear that America is racist. That's what America is. And systemic racism is what America was based upon. The reason why I believe that Vice President Harris and President Biden are saying that we're not a racist country, we just have a race problem, is because it's more palatable for the white moderate and those who are on the other side to digest that. Because if they were to come out and say blatantly that America is racist, it's going to turn off all those people who don't want to address the racism, those people who are benefiting from the racism that exists within the United States. And so as leaders, and they're trying to lead the whole country, like they said, and they're campaigning, they don't want to say anything that's going to off-put people. So I feel like, it's politics. That's all that is. It's just politics. It's also bullshit, because America is racist.
You think they got a lot of backlash from that comment saying that America
I don't know. But like, if we look at what institutional racism is, systemic racism, it's embedded through laws within society or an organization that can lead to issues such as discrimination in criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, political power, and education, among other issues.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's what it is. And then we have the outcomes of that. How can you then say that America is not racist?
Well, one thing that I agree with you definitely on is that we need judicial reform. We need law enforcement reform, because all the things that just been happening the last couple of years, and these things have been going on for many, many, many years. This is the first time that we really put a spotlight on it, where the press has put the spotlight on it. But these things have been going on for a very long time, and then qualified immunity, just needs to be taken away from taken out of our laws,
Right.
and stop crowding our prisons with black men for small crimes. These are all things that perpetuate the idea that America is racist. That's just the black community. I haven't went into Mexicans and other foreigners either. So that perpetuates the narrative that America is a racist country. But when we say, I do have to look at, when we say that America is a racist country, I want to be clear to say that every man, child, infant, cat, dog in America isn't racist.
I
But
think, yes, I think that's, go ahead, DJ,
no,
continue.
go.
Because I think that argument, I'm not a racist or whatever, is a distraction, and it's not helpful. Okay. Because the thing about racism is it's institutional and systemic, which means it's played out by these systems. It's not about, oh, you did something wrong to me and therefore you are racist. You can act out a racist system. Yes. If you are a white police officer and you are upholding the law incorrectly against people of color, that means that you are acting out a racist system. You are acting out these laws, or acting out and exerting your power in a way that negatively impacts people of color, right? But the thing is, it's not about individuals being racist. It's about individuals upholding these systems that are created to perpetuate racism. So to say that, oh, well, I'm not a racist, so I'm not the problem. You're the problem because you're saying that, because you're not recognizing that it's these systems that you're benefiting from that you don't want to have changed. Because what happens is when the conversation gets shifted to the individual, we lose focus of what the problem is. So when people are bringing up this, I'm not a racist, because they're so fragile, that's actually violent. That goes back to the whole white violence thing. Because the conversation is not about one person acting against another person. It is on a macro level, because it's about the system. If we think about the founding fathers of this nation, the ones who wrote the Declaration of Independence, the ones who wrote and signed the Constitution, they did not have my black ass in mind. Okay. They didn't.
No, they didn't.
No, they had my people in chains. They had them working for them. So and even if we even talk about, they didn't even have some white men in mind, because they only considered white men that had property as is eligible to vote and participate.
Right.
So,
I mean, all that's true. I'm just saying, but I mean, America definitely was born with plenty of with birth defects. I mean, we know that,
yes.
right? But how do we move away from that? I mean, that's not I'm not looking for an answer for that, because that's a form in itself. How do we correct this issue where a country that we live in was based off of you not giving everyone equal rights, and now you're trying to recover from that and having the most difficult time in history that's ever been recorded, trying to move from that. So I don't think that we could even get to a real good answer.
Well, I think part of it is being able to have the conversation. And when you brought this up, I didn't even want to talk about it, because I'm like, of course the answer is yes, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
You're the one that brought up how Republicans are attacking even the tools to discuss the issue, right? By bringing up and distorting critical race theory, right? So let's just go ahead and move there.
Yeah, because that's where I was going to go next.
Okay, good. Well, look at this. We're synchronized.
Right.
But it's like, in order to even move past it, to address it fully, we have to be able to talk about it.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. We have to be able to talk about it, but when we say things like America isn't racist, I think that that even shuts down the conversation, so that we can't have a deep conversation about the inequalities, because we want to continue to whitewash the truth. And that's when it comes to critical race theory. I'm not totally in line with critical race theory, but the reason why I think that it's such so offensive to Republicans, because it will have the conversation at looking at U.S. history from a perspective that the the white American dream has been whitewashed, thrown down people's throats, and really is is a lie. And God forbid we do that, right? So that's the reason why there's such a hatred towards that concept and that idea.
I don't know why you would be against critical race theory. And
No,
for
not
those
against
who don't,
it.
well, not against it, but you said something about like you're not totally on board.
Right, exactly.
Right. So, but okay, so just for those people who are listening who may not understand what we're talking about when we say critical race theory, it's an academic movement of civil rights scholars that was sort of birthed in the 70s, the mid 70s, and it really takes a critical lens to examine the law as it intersects with issues of race and challenge mainstream liberal approaches to racial justice. So it's looking at it's looking at certain systems, the systems that we know where racism lives, and examine them for that, right? So it pushes people, and I think I get it. I am someone that has certain levels of intersectionality of oppression, but there are also forms of oppression that I don't experience, right? I'm a cisgendered woman. I don't experience oppression from being trans, right?
Right.
So I understand that for me to be inclusive and understanding and working to bring forth a world where trans people are safe and equal,
Right.
that means I have to do some work, right? There are some biases and some things that I have to unlearn, right? And the same is true for those people who don't experience racism. And I think this pushback is about not wanting to do that work.
Oh yeah, scary work. That's very scary to do that work. To look at, say, because what critical race theory, what it makes the individual do when you're looking at it, is it has to look at the human condition. And I think we had discussions about this before about, I don't believe we're born racist,
Right.
but we are born with fears, and we're born to be competitive, and we're born to look at the differences and have preferences. And when you're mixing all that into a bucket with fear, then you're going to come out with some prejudice and some racism and bigotry and all the other nastiness stuff, all that nasty stuff that goes in together when you are putting that. And then you got the laws of the land are also promotes that too.
Yeah.
So when you start unpacking all of that, people get very defensive.
Absolutely.
Because they're saying, okay, I don't want to look at that because it could demonize me and the people who came before me.
Right. Exactly. It's taking away, I remember I talk a lot with a good friend of mine about religion, and like he has a different view of religion, especially Christianity, and we share it. But he's learned that you can't take people's Jesus away from them. And it's the same thing.
Oh no.
People have this idea about what America is. And it's been and critical race theory challenges it, right? It challenges it. And people don't want to let go of what they thought this country was and what they've been told this country was, even though it was all a lie. So people don't want to embrace the truth because they're holding on to this dream. And the thing is, this is my breakdown. The thing is, if people were willing to let go of the lie and actually do the work, this could be the America that they dream of.
I agree. They have the backbone to do that. And this may not be the era for that, but the Senator Tim Scott doesn't speak of the experience of most African Americans. This is my breakdown right here. Okay.
All right.
So Senator Tim Scott doesn't speak of the experience of most African American people. He rather speaks of a certain class of African Americans that he speaks to. Instead of using this time to have a difficult conversation, Tim, Joe, and Kamala would rather... Kamala. I'm going to get that name right eventually. Maybe after her first 4 years, right? After she becomes president, I'll get it. Would rather skip over America's ugly history and continue whitewashing America's deleterious U.S. history. The reason why we have so many racial issues in this country is because we would rather keep people comfortable amid this country's alarming reality. I do think the question, is America racist, is a loaded question, but it's not about the question itself, but it's more about why the question has to be asked. When we look at America's past policies and even our current policies and the many places this country needs to reform, when we need to be asking questions like about racism, because if we're not willing to take on racism head on, then we're basically chasing our tail.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Let's move into the Make You Laugh segment. And I'm going to start this time by asking you a question, DJ.
Okay.
What's your favorite type of pizza?
Thin crust, pepperoni, and sausage with pineapples.
Wait. I am not anti-pineapple on pizza, but you put pineapple on your pizza that has pepperoni and sausage?
Yes, you should try it. It's so good.
No. I'm okay with a Hawaiian pizza, but it's it's pineapple and ham. How are you doing it with sausage? I don't understand.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good.
Okay, I'll trust you.
Try it.
I'm not going to try it, but I will trust you on that. I'm not going to order a pizza that has no.
You ever had meat lovers?
Yeah, but not with pineapple. Anyways, that wasn't even the segment. So let me move into it. I love Neapolitan pizza, actually. And there's a really great spot in DC that does it really well. Menomale. They just opened a location in Noma, but they have one, it's in Brookland. And they do the Naples pizza. So pizza from Naples, it's all about the hand-kneaded crust and being baked in a brick oven. Well, I found this story about the people in Rome, and they are not happy about a new invention. There's a pizza vending machine.
Whoa.
So the machine is called Mr. Go Pizza, and it offers 4 different kinds of pizzas, ranging in cost from about 4.5 to 6 euros, and that's the equivalent of $5 to $7 US. Some of the reviews of the vending machine are acceptable if you're in a hurry. It looks good, but it's much smaller than in a restaurant, and there's less topping. And it's okay, but it's not pizza. And then someone else said, terrible pizza. Really needs to be eaten hot. Terrible. Pizza really needs to be eaten hot immediately. This doesn't work for me. So I'm just thinking of all the places to put a pizza vending machine. Why would you put it in Rome and expect people to enjoy it?
Right. That's like you're like asking for failure right there.
Right. But I thought that was hilarious because people are really
they should put it near a college. And
exactly.
That's the place you would put something like that.
Yeah. Well, I love pizza. I don't eat it nearly as much as I used to, but growing up, I would say that pizza was my favorite food group.
Mine too. I would tell you a funny story. I'll tell you a funny story about well, actually, I give myself permission if I can tell this story, but I'll tell it one day about pizza. It's really good.
Right. Where's the best pizza you've ever had?
The best pizza I ever had is a place in North Carolina called Pizza In there, and it's only in North Carolina. It's the best pizza I ever tasted.
Really?
In the United States.
I mean anywhere.
Anywhere. Oh, I was in Croatia, and that's when I was visiting. I was in the military, and I went there, and it was handmade. Everything was done by hand. The cheese was the best cheese I ever tasted in my life. And it was made in the oven, that little stone oven thing. Yeah, it was just so good.
Yeah, brick oven pizza is the only way to do it, man. It's the only way.
Yeah. If you go to a chance to get to Croatia, which is like
it's beautiful,
$15,000 just to get to from here, but it's definitely beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep on moving. Moving into our next topic, on May 7th, 2021, Colonial Pipeline, which is an American oil pipeline system that originates in Houston and carries oil mainly to the southeastern United States, suffered a ransomware cyber attack. It was hacked and it impacted the computerized equipment that manages the pipeline. In response, Colonial Pipeline halted all of the pipeline's operations to contain the attack. They paid the ransom, which was nearly $5 million within
Wow.
several hours after the attack. And the hackers then sent Colonial Pipeline a software application to restore their network, but it operated very slowly. Since then, there's been wide range attack and fuel shortages along the East Coast. The crisis is now man-made, first by the ransomware attack, and now by people panicking and driving to fill up their gas tanks with gas for fear that the country may run out of gas.
Forget the toilet paper. Get the gas tank.
Well, even more than the gas tank, people have been putting gas everywhere. I saw a video of someone filling up a grocery bag
Wow,
with
really?
gasoline.
That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
crazy.
So, what have you seen so far? So, like, I saw that video. How is it? We're on the East Coast. How has it been impacting you?
Well, I have noticed that prices have went up. When I went to go visit my, last weekend, Mother's
Mhm.
Day weekend, drove to North Carolina, visit my mother. I paid like $279 on the way
Wow.
back.
Mhm.
But when I saw the day, it was $289 today when I
Wow.
looked at the prices here where I'm at in Virginia.
Mhm.
So the prices have jumped drastically, just like 10 cents
Yeah.
within just the last week. So I'm quite sure that's going to cause frustration
Mhm.
with people, but I haven't seen the long lines here in Virginia, but I have seen the fights that have been breaking out on social media.
Okay. Yeah, I had been really busy and working, and I hadn't gone anywhere that I needed to fill up my tank, but it was
Hmm.
time to fill up. I usually never let it get this close to E, but so I had to go to the gas station on Thursday. So yeah, I had to go on Thursday. And the place where I usually get gas, there's usually long lines anyways. I go to one of those warehouse stores, but they
Okay.
had the cones, so you had to like wait in line through the parking lot to sort of mitigate the traffic. And it
Hmm.
wasn't that bad. It was just almost like a normal flow, but I think it was because of the time of day I went. But I did notice the price was higher. Like it was almost $40 to fill up my tank, and I haven't paid that in a long time.
Wow.
And I think there was one, it was like $3, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen those prices since Bush was in
Right.
office. And then on my way home Thursday, there's a gas station closer to me, and it was full, and there were cars parked all the way down the road. Um,
Wow.
so people are getting gas, and I don't know if for me, I went because I had to go because it's like,
Hmm.
normal time to go, but I don't, are people really
In this bad
afraid?
need of gas? I mean, no, I don't think so. I think it's just like the tissue, toilet paper, and the paper towels and the 409. Have you went there and grabbing all that stuff? I think it's the same attitude. It's like America has an obsession with lack and scarcity. No?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that after the supply is restored, that the gas prices will go back to normal?
Yeah, I think they will go back to normal once the news begin to say that things are back to normal.
Mhm.
But my question is, what would they push next? What will be the next
Mm.
button to get people riled up next?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
That is a good question. I saw there's a couple of articles or opinion pieces that were being written,
Hmm.
and one of them, it was in the Washington Post, and it says the gas shortage is another recent example of Americans making things worse for one another.
Hmm.
And it's just like I don't understand. I mean, I get it because the news is just pretty much fear mongering. That's all they do.
Right.
Like when
Because it works.
I was at my parents' house for Mother's Day, and they had the news on. I don't watch any news coverage. I read all the news I get. I read it because I can't deal with all of that fear being pumped into my home.
Right. Exactly. I mean, to me, it's like I would rather pick and choose what stories I want to,
Hmm.
tune into instead of having
Right.
it all sort of thrown at me,
Yeah.
just to get me riled up. And then, you don't really know what happens after that. It's like you hear a horrible story, then you're like, what happened? And there's no follow up at all.
Right, right, right. But to the other part of the actual story, not just the response, but what caused it.
Hmm.
Um, the ransomware attack. Like A few years ago on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, my favorite, Ted Koppel was on, and he was promoting his book, which was about these ransomware attacks. And the book is called Lights Out: A Cyber Attack, A Nation Unprepared, Surviving the Aftermath. And what he was pretty much saying is that it's not a matter of if, but when this country is going to experience like a mass either electrical outlet or outage, because so many of our systems are based in like cyber technology, and they can be hacked, and like they have been hacked. We just have been lucky enough that we haven't experienced the detriment. So like I understand people needing to be prepared, but I mean, I don't know. And like we saw what happened in Texas recently when, their electricity went off the grid and they didn't have power, and like
Ted Cruz went on a vacation.
Right. And how can we forget? Right. Awful Ted Cruz escaping his responsibility. So it's like, there is reason for us to be prepared for emergencies and like recognizing that we are vulnerable in a certain way. But I think the question that we really get to examine is how do we prepare and also protect and be communal? Because the way that things are happening now, it's not supporting all of us.
It's not communal at all. It's I got to get this before my neighbor gets it. And that's the sad thing. I think that all this shows me is that I'm going to run down, get much gas as I possibly can, even more than I'm probably actually going to use or need, so that the next guy doesn't have it. And it's so crazy because there's a part of me that says this is not even real, that a lot of folks that are out there that are saying that this is a real issue, and it's not a real issue, so most people are working remotely. So what are you what are we doing?
Why? I mean, the world is opening up some, but why do you don't need all this gas?
Right. And Charlotte is asking the citizens to work remotely because it's one of the cities that's been hit, I think, a little bit harder than a lot of other cities. So, and I don't know how well that's working in terms of, are people listening to that and saying, I want to work remotely, or I'm going to go out there and fight for this gas in the street. So, and then you have social media that's compounding these stories of people, and showing there may be probably several lines out there, and you saw them as well, the lines that are out there for people getting gas. But I can see how that can be compounded, and even go back and find old stories and pictures and things and post that as if it's new stories, just to get people riled up.
Really? Wow. I mean, yeah, thinking about how the media, because this is before social media, but I remember, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was in middle school, but it was the Christmas when the Tickle Me Elmo was a toy.
Oh yeah.
Right? And like people were like fighting each other, like fist fights. People were getting arrested in Walmart over Tickle Me Elmo, right? Yeah. And so it's like that is something that we are not unfamiliar with, that whole mob mentality, that scarcity, like you said, that scarcity mindset is something that's very much baked into consumerism. But in terms of like actual essentials, how do we shift the narrative or shift our approach to being prepared? Because really, if you think about it, if there's a crisis and your mindset is, I have to secure everything before someone else gets to it, you're actually making yourself a target. Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better if everyone had what they needed? So like, how do we get to that point where we recognize that it's useless to hoard in that type of way, and that the principle of Ubuntu, of togetherness and making sure that we all have it is actually what's going to ensure our survival.
Yeah, that's key. But Americans don't have that. It's I win, you lose kind of mentality instead of a win-win situation. We don't have that any longer. We've lost the sense of community, and it's no longer it's, and even if I was out there to say I'm getting this for my family and for my brother's family, my sister's family, so that we can have these things, but it still seems to be not thinking about society as a whole. And that's what we sort of lost sight of, that if we can't watch out for each other as a whole, then everyone loses in the long run from that kind of mentality.
Yeah, and you know what? If you look at it, you can see that everywhere in our society, and at every level, you see that playing out. But I will say that if you also look for the other thing, if you also look for evidence of community, you will see that. You have to look a little bit harder, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the little poem says, no, look for the not the angels, but it's a wonderful poem that I think it came from Mr. Rogers, I believe. And he was saying, look for the helpers. That's what he says. Look for the helpers whenever you see dysfunction in the news. There's always somebody out there helping and doing the honorable thing. So, you got to try to look for that.
Well, hopefully we're helping people by giving them something to talk about, to share with people while they're waiting in the gas station.
Listen to our podcast.
Yeah, do you really need gas? Do you really need gas? Maybe you should go home. Maybe you shouldn't put it in this garbage bag or this grocery bag.
Yeah, maybe it's just not that important today. So
right. And scarcity it's just it's mindset, and it's not true. Like,
it's not real.
We live in such an abundant planet.
Abundant planet, but we have to tap into that. I'm gonna get into my unity spiel. Unity Church. So what's your breakdown?
My breakdown is we do need to recognize our vulnerability with our relying on technology and how insecure that is. I will say that we do need that. Everyone should have the minimal things that they need at home to survive if we aren't able to leave our homes, or if we, have a natural disaster, right? Those things are inevitable. It makes sense to be smart. But scare city is not where we need to reside.
City, I like that. Yeah.
City is not where we need to reside. And I would just urge people to be critical in their consumption of news. That's my, I don't really have any more to say than that. Yeah.
Well, I think this is another case that shows how technology is advancing, but our consciousness is trailing far behind. And that's the scary thing when I think about our about how technology is so great and we love it. But then I look at how we're moving forward, but we're still getting this dumb stuff happening, along with it. So, it's great that we got the pipelines, we have all this technology that can do all these wonderful things, but then somebody comes along and just do one effed up thing to a system and everybody goes nut crazy. So this is where we have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. In our effort to bring you light, optimism, and hope, we have come to the Inspire segment of our show. So I wanted to shine a spotlight on a child prodigy. Tani Adewumi is this child who has a golden smile that will melt your heart. He's been playing chess for less than a year when he won the 2019 New York State Championship at the age of 8.
Wow.
Beating out 73 other children undefeated.
Whoa.
Tani says he found his love for chess while playing with his brother while living in Nigeria with his family. But in 2017, Tani's family had to flee Nigeria, being threatened by a religious terrorist group called Boko Haram, who vowed to kill them. At the time, Tani's father was running a printing business in Nigeria until the day he refused to continue working with those terrorists. Then the terrorists showed up at their home and intimidated Tani's mother. Ultimately, in 2017, Tani's father uprooted the family and relocated to the U.S. and Texas seeking religious asylum. Eventually, Tani's family landed in Manhattan, homeless, living in a homeless shelter, and in the 3rd grade, Tani joined the chess club. And once the coaches saw his drive and his determination and what he had learned from his family, that drive and determination that they had to get out of Nigeria and get to America, they began to really work with him to train him because they saw that he had the ability to be great. Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
And this guy has such the awesome smile, and I saw a few interviews with him that reporters had done, and he still has that child mentality. It's not like he's talking to these giving you all these big words. He's just talking like he's a little kid, He hasn't lost that childlike sensitivity, So a GoFundMe page was created in 2019 to help the family, which exceeded over $100,000.
Wow!
And I love it when Tani's mother said she's just so proud of him, her son. And so this year, Tani defeated an international chess master. He also defeated the national chess master. And he is the youngest and the newest chess master the U.S. Chess Federation named him the 28th youngest person to achieve the rank of chess master.
That is amazing.
Yeah, this guy is just off the chain, and and like I said, still has that childlike heart. So he has a book too.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he has a children's book called Tani's New Home: A Refugee Finds Hope and Kindness in America, and it's currently on sale on Amazon, and we'll leave the link in the show notes.
Great! I'm gonna have to get that for my godson.
Yeah, I definitely will. And he has several other books too that is not authored by him, but is basically telling his story. I want to get those.
Okay. Well done, Tani. Now I'm inspired to learn chess. I know. I don't know yet. I know the basics, but I don't know anything about playing.
Yeah, I always lose. I'm like, oh, whatever.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 13.
Yeah, as I always say, another one in the hopper. Yes.
Yes. Well, we thank you all so much for listening and being part of our Breaking It Down community. We are getting your text messages. We're hearing you talk to us in person about what you think of the show, and we're just grateful that you would give us the time on your Monday or whenever you listen to us during the week. And we invite you to continue to do that and also interact with the conversation on Facebook at Breaking It Down Podcast or Instagram at Breaking It Down Show. Additionally, you can email us
at breakingitdownshow@gmail.com. Again, that's breakingitdownshow@gmail.com.
That's right. Anything else you wanted to share, DJ?
Again, like you were saying, I want to say thank you to the individuals who have subscribed to our YouTube channel, and all the individuals who are listening and gaining confidence to interact with us. So I want to say thank you to all those individuals. If you've gotten to this far along in the show, I definitely want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We will see you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Breaking It Down with DJ and Courtney is edited and produced by Designs by Courtney H. Music produced by Courtney Hinton.
Thank you for viewing.
Please hit the subscribe button and thumbs up this video.
Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode.
Thanks for watching.